Good evening and welcome to the Friday webinars at Wharton Arts. It's a series dedicated to making authentic connections between art and life through the sharing of stories, expertise, and creations by guest artists of varied disciplines. Wharton Institute for the Performing Arts comprises the New Jersey Youth Symphony, Patterson Music Project, and the Performing Arts School as New Jersey's largest nonprofit performing arts education organization, serving over 1,200 students of all ages and abilities through a range of classes and ensembles. Tonight, I am thrilled to welcome Ave Lagrimas Jr. Ave is a musician, composer, educator, and author who plays the drums, vibraphone, and ukulele. Abe studied at Berklee College of Music. He competed in the highly prestigious Thelonious Monk International Jazz Drums Competition and has worked with artists such as Eric Marienthal, Eric Reed, Kamasi Washington, Jake Shimabukuro, among others, and continues to be an in-demand session musician in Los Angeles. As a solo ukulele artist, Abe is a recipient of the Hawaii Academy of Recording Arts Award and has released multiple albums in the United States, Japan, and South Korea. He has headlined ukulele festivals throughout the US, as well as Canada, Mexico, UK, Germany, China, Japan, Philippines, Thailand, and Australia. Abe is also an active educator, conducting workshops and also teaching privately. He's an instructor for the Fender Play series and the author of Jazz Ukulele, Comping Soloing Chord Melodies. You can learn much more about his activities on his website at avelagrimasjr.com. At the end of his presentation, where he's going to be talking to you about the origins of the instrument and different techniques and maybe performing for us as well, we will have a chance to ask him some questions. So if you are in the a part of the webinar right now and have the Q&A option there, please, as he presents and as questions kind of come to your minds, just put it into Q&A box and we'll take some time at the end to answer all of your questions. So without further ado, please help me welcome Ave Lagrimas Jr.
Hey everybody, aloha. I just want to say hello everyone out there. Thank you for joining. Thank you Helen and thank you Wharton Arts for having me. I'm really excited to be a part of your webinar series. I'm going to get started by playing some music for you. So you don't have to wait till the end for me to play. I'm going to get right to start playing music right at the very beginning. So here we go.
I think we're having a little bit of internet connection.
All right, thank you so much. A little technical difficulties there, but I think we're back on now. So that was an original composition of mine called Good Times, from an album I released back in, when was that? 2014. An original composition called Good Times. Thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed that tune. So again, thank you so much for joining on this webinar. I'm really excited to be here to talk about the ukulele and teach you a few things about it. It's a very popular instrument, so it's the hottest instrument out there. So I want you all to be able to learn some new skills and and play some tunes and make music, because it's what we all need during this this trying and really difficult time we're all going through right now. All right, so the first thing I'd like to talk about is if you're brand new to the ukulele, you probably noticed the way I'm saying the word ukulele. I am from Hawaii, and I'm actually in Hawaii right now. I live in Los Angeles, but I decided to spend the month being back home with my family. So it's perfect that I'm able to kind of host this this webinar series to you coming from Hawaii. So the word ukulele, it's obviously a Hawaiian word, and it's pronounced ukulele. Some of you might learn or have learned how to say the instrument as ukulele. I think if you look in a dictionary, you might have that. It might have that pronunciation, ukulele. But growing up in Hawaii, and all of my ukulele friends, we've all kind of grown up saying, and as ukulele players and some other colleagues of mine, we always want to educate the history of the word and what the word means, and also how it's pronounced. So uku, so it's the first two syllables, uku, and then the last two syllables, lele, ukulele. So if you think about it, I think it's actually a more simpler way to pronounce the word ukulele, because it only requires two shapes that your mouth has to make, ukulele, as opposed to ukulele, where your mouth is just kind of ukulele. So I want to first start off with that by teaching you how to say the word ukulele. Okay. The instrument, even though it's ukulele is a Hawaiian word, I want to talk a little bit about where it came from, because the instrument is actually not indigenous to Hawaii. It was actually brought over to Hawaii by the Portuguese. Now, the instrument originated from another island, actually, an island off of the country, Portugal. And in Portugal, musicians back in the day were playing, guitars, and they even had smaller guitars, um, different types of guitars, and the names of those instruments, anywhere from braguinha to the machete and to the cavaquinho. Those are all different words that you've probably heard if you're learning about the history of the ukulele. But it started with those instruments from Portugal. Now, what happened was towards the end of the late 1800s, immigrants from Portugal, brought their guitars, they brought their machete with them on a ship, and they were immigrants and traveled to Hawaii to work in the, plantation fields, sugarcane, primarily, and looking for work, and they brought their instruments with them. So that's actually what happened, and again, this was towards the late 1800s. And so they brought these instruments with them to Hawaii, and then the people in Hawaii, they saw these instruments, and they were looking at the Portuguese and looking at the way they play. And I think what struck them was the way their hands were moving. Probably a lot of them were playing, really quick strumming songs, something like. So if you take a look at my right hand, kind of moving really, really quickly up and down. So a lot of them were doing this really, really fast strumming, and the story goes that when the people of Hawaii noticed or looked at their arm, they thought that it resembled a flea, like a flea jumping, like a little bug. And so the word ukulele, uku is the Hawaiian word for flea. Okay, so growing up in Hawaii, I remember, if you have lice in your hair, we would call them ukus. You have ukus in your hair if you had lice in your hair. But uku, so uku means flea, and then lele means to jump. So the word ukulele translates to jumping flea. So that's kind of where the word comes from, the history of the word. So now you know ukulele, and you know the pronunciation as well. Okay, I want to talk about the different sizes of ukulele. They all have 4 strings, but there are actually 4 different types of ukulele, or 4 different sizes, I should say. So the smallest being the soprano, and then the next largest is the concert ukulele. The next largest is a tenor ukulele, which is this instrument here, and then the largest is a baritone ukulele. Okay, and I believe Helen here, who introduced me, has a couple of ukuleles that she can show you, so you guys can see the difference between, I'm not sure if you're able to tell on camera, but so again, this is a tenor ukulele, and then Helen here has a soprano. Mm-hmm.
And then we have the concert.
The concert is slightly bigger. Mm-hmm.
And then yours is tenor?
And then this is a tenor, yes.
So if I go backwards a little bit, right?
I'm going to show you that.
There you go. You come forward and it will be larger.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. Okay. Ooh, it's okay. And then there's one more larger than this, and it's called the baritone ukulele. And what determines the size is, I mean, you can usually, if you have them laid out next to each other, you can kind of tell the difference just strictly from the size of the body. But technically, that's not really what determines the size of the ukulele. It's actually the string length, and the string length means referring to the measurement from the bridge. This is the bridge of the ukulele, all the way to the nut. Okay, so there are different measurements. I can't remember exactly off the top of my head the different measurements that determine the different sizes, but You know, obviously soprano has the shortest length, and then concert a little bit longer, and then the tenor obviously a little bit longer, and then the baritone. Now the main difference that sets the baritone apart from the other three. In actuality, the soprano, concert, and tenor all have the same tuning, which I'll talk in a little bit. And the tuning is G, C, E, A. I'll play it for you so you can hear what it sounds like. Okay, so those are the notes G, C, E, A. It's if you strum it, forms a C6 chord. So the soprano, concert, and tenor all utilize the same tuning. The baritone, however, has a slightly different tuning and is actually more closely related to the guitar. So for those of you who play guitar out there, baritone ukulele is actually just the bottom 4 strings, so minus the low E and the low A string. So it's just like a guitar minus the 2 bass notes, if you want to think about it that way. And that's the tuning for a baritone ukulele. Okay. Now, when I played the 4 strings here earlier, what's unique about the ukulele and what sets it apart from the guitar, for example, or some other stringed instruments, is that this note here, the top string, is a high G. And then the next one goes down to C. So sol, do, da, da. So normally a lot of bass, cello, violin, guitar, a lot of string instruments, the notes go from low to high. Da 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 da. Whatever tuning for that particular instrument. But what makes the ukulele unique is that that top string is higher. It starts off high. And amongst the all 4 strings, it's actually the second highest note. So the highest note on the ukulele is the A. Okay. And then the second highest note is the top strings here. So it's the 2 outside strings that have the 2 highest notes. So A, G, and then the second string here is E. And then the third string, which is the lowest, with a C. Okay. Now let's pull out that handout that I have here, and because it kind of showcases the different tunings for the ukulele here. I made a little handout for you guys to look at. Okay, so it starts off by if you take a look at the top there, high G tuning, and again, to me, it's what makes the ukulele unique and from other stringed instruments. So my ukulele is obviously tuned with a high G string, so high G tuning. Okay, so that's the first bar there, I guess you could say, with the standard notation, and then the ukulele tablature right below it. So if you take a look at the notes and notice how it goes, it starts off da 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 da, and so that's one way to tune your ukulele. Another way to tune your ukulele is with a low G tuning. So it kind of resembles more of a traditional stringed instrument. So similar to like a guitar or bass or violin or whatever, okay? So if you take a look at the tuning there, so you would have, instead of having a high G, you would just have a G 1 octave below. So ba da da da. Okay. Either one is commonly used. I just prefer the high G because to me that it has more of that sparkle. Well, a lot of people say to that kind of is special and unique to the ukulele. A lot of times when there's a low G, if you play a low G, it sounds a little bit like a guitar almost. Because of that because of that lower string. With the high G, it makes the instrument a little bit more trebly sounding, and kind of special and unique in that sense. Okay, so there's no right or wrong way, or which tuning you prefer to use. If you have a low G, that's great. You can experiment and see which one sounds better to you. Okay, all right. Okay, now I'm gonna get into teaching you a little bit, some chords and some strumming techniques and some finger picking techniques. Okay, I'm gonna use the song "Stand By Me," very very popular song, originally released in the '60s by Ben E. King. There, okay. I'm going to talk about the first, probably the first four chords that every ukulele player out there learns. And those chords are C, A minor, F, and G7. Okay? And what I have here is the four lines, which again is the ukulele tablature. And above it is the chord diagram. So they're basically two different systems that show you where to put your fingers. Okay? So you could look at either because they're basically the same thing. Okay. So let's start with the C chord. I'll just kind of talk you through this. Okay. So starting with the C chord, we have the third finger on the third fret. Okay, on the first string or on the A string, and it should look like this. Okay. And even though the C chord uses one finger, you might think that it might seem natural for you to use like your first finger or maybe your second finger. But it's important to use your third finger because generally when you're kind of learning chords and playing chords within the first three frets, if the notes are on the first fret, you want to use your first finger. If there are notes on the second fret, you generally want to use your second finger, so on for the third, and then again for the fourth. So with the C, there's only one note on the third fret, so therefore you want to use your third finger. So the default fingering for C, ring finger or third finger, and you can just strum it like this. Sounds like that, okay? And for strumming, let's start by using our thumb. We're gonna get into more strumming patterns and use our index finger. But for now, let's just kind of focus on the left hand and the chord shapes. And for strumming, let's just use our thumb, okay? So it sounds like this, okay? Now let's move on to the A minor. A minor is also another chord that uses only one finger, but it's on the second fret. So we're going to use our second finger, okay? And second finger all the way up here on the G or fourth string. There's your A minor right there. Okay. Next, we're going to move from A minor to F. And notice that the 2 remains constant between those two chords, the A minor and F. So you could leave your second finger down there on the second fret, and all you're going to do to move over to the F is you're going to add your first finger to the first fret of the E string or second string. Okay, so A minor, add the finger for the F. And then the last chord, save the best for last, and the most difficult out of the four for last, G7. Now, from moving from the F to the G7, notice that the first finger remains constant between two chords. So when you move from F to the G7, keep your index finger down, and then you're going to move your second finger down to 2 here. And then you're going to add your ring finger to the second fret. So it kind of forms like a triangle shape there. Okay? So G7 uses 3 fingers. Sounds like this. Okay, so let's play out these 4 chords. And let's strum each chord 4 times. 4 times each. Okay? And maybe play through it through these 4 measures twice. Okay? So starting with C, again, strum with just your thumb. It sounds like this, okay? Okay, here we go. 1, 2, ready, C. 2, 3, 4. A minor, 1, 2, 3. F, add the finger, first finger, 2, 3. G7 now, 1, 2, 3, 4. Back to C. A minor, add the first finger for F, G7, and then C. Okay, so those are the 4 chords you'll need to play for Stand By Me. Okay, Um, and in terms of strumming, I get asked this a lot actually. Where should I strum? Um, Generally, the sweet spot for strumming the ukulele um, is usually a little bit over the fretboard here, the end of the fretboard, and then maybe like half of the sound hole. You know, if you're strumming back here, you'll notice the sound becomes a little thin. So too far back sounds a little thin, and obviously you don't want to strum, you know, like directly over the fretboard here. Okay, so again, generally the sweet spot is like right in this area. So a little bit over the fretboard, or even if you're just directly over the sound hole, but on this end of the sound hole, not on the back end. Okay, um, to me that's where you get the best sound, and same goes for finger picking as well, which I'll talk about in a little bit. Okay, so let's scroll down to the strumming pattern now, and probably the first strumming pattern that you'll also learn as a ukulele player. So we're going to learn the first 4 chords you learn on the ukulele, and then also probably the first strumming pattern that most people learn. Okay, let's start with counting. I'm going to talk about the rhythm, okay, of this strumming pattern. So obviously, if you can read music notation and standard notation, you can simply just read the rhythm there. And the rhythm, if counted, sounds like this. So 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, and 3, and. Okay, and it just repeats. It's just once you get that rhythm, it's just on autopilot. Okay, 1, 2, and 3, and. Okay, now the letters I wrote below the rhythmic notes there refer to the strumming direction. So down, down, up, up, down, up. So if you want to count the direction, or say the direction of the strumming in the rhythm, it would sound like this: 2, 3, 4, down, down, up, down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down, up. Okay. Now the tricky part, if you've never done this before, probably the most trickiest part is if you take a look at the, right in the middle of each measure, or if you're looking at the first measure, notice that there's down, down, up, and then there's a little gap, and then there's another up. Okay, so you have two consecutive ups there. Now, what needs to happen in between those ups, though, even though we're not strumming, your arm still needs to come down. So I'll demonstrate over a C chord. So it goes down, down, up, down, up. Okay. Notice on that little gap, my arm is still coming down. Okay, because I need to play an up, and in order to play the up, my arm needs to come down. I can't play 2 consecutive ups if I keep my arm up here. Okay, I need to come down first and then play the second up. Okay. And because this strumming pattern uses both directions, both a downward strum and an upward strum, generally you want to strum or use your index finger when strumming in both directions. Okay, there's a lot of different ways, but for me, what works is I kind of like to so if you're looking at your hand like this, what I like to do is kind of stick my index finger out so that the other 3 fingers don't get in the way of the strings, so that if I stick my index finger out there, this will be the only finger coming into contact with the strings. Okay. So right now you can kind of experiment, doing some down strums, some up strums, down strums, up strums. Okay. All right. So once you get past that point, now you can apply this rhythm, this strumming pattern. So let's try it together. And so right here we have 2 bars of C, 2 measures of A minor, drop down to the next line, 1 measure of F, 1 measure of G7, and then back to 2 measures of C. Okay, let's play this a few times. Maybe repeat it once or twice. We'll see. I'll cut you off. Here we go. So down, down, up, down, up. 1, 2, Ready, and A minor, here we go, one bar of F, and F, G7, back to C. Let's repeat, back to the top. A minor, Great, very nice. Okay, now if that's too easy for you, and you want to kick it up a notch, what you can do is add chucks. And what chucks are, they're basically an effect, a percussive effect, to kind of create more of a backbeat on beats 2 and 4. And what that is it's an effect created mainly by using your right hand, your strumming hand. And when you strum, you kind of mute the strings with your right hand simultaneously. So if you've never done this before, it can be a little confusing, but the main goal is to kind of create a percussive sound, one that where you don't hear any of the open notes. Okay. So it's purely percussive. If it sounds like this, that means you're not cutting off the strings soon enough. So it's kind of like you're laying your palm directly on the strings the moment before you attack the strings. Okay, and adding the chucks, you want to add the chucks to beats 2 and 4. So it'll sound like this. 1. Okay, that's without the chucks, and then here's with the chucks. Feel free to join in if you want to play along. C. One more pass, and when you add the chucks, it kind of like strengthens the groove and the overall rhythm. It kind of enhances this pattern of down, down, up, down, up. Again, it's the same rhythm that you see on the sheet there. It's just I'm substituting beats 2 and 4, which are both down strums, by the way. If you look at the strumming pattern, beat 2 is the second D, and then the beat 4 is the last D. There's only 3 down strums. And it's the beat 4 is the last down strum. So if you want to write that in or whatever, you can substitute those 2 downstrokes for a chuck, which is again this percussive effect that you can add to strengthen the groove. Okay, all right. So let's move on over to finger picking now. Okay. Great. So finger picking here, again, probably the first finger picking pattern that ukulele players mess with. It's simply just going in order from 4th string down to the first string. So the easiest way to start off by doing this is actually could we scoot it up so that we could see all 8 measures for a little bit? There you go. Awesome. Thank you. How about a hand for Alyssa, who's helping me run the PDF document here. Thank you so much, Alyssa. Okay. So finger picking. So now instead of strumming, now we're going to be playing. If you look at the notation, you could look at the tablature as well. There's no strumming. We're still going to be playing chords, but what's different is that we're playing each string individually. So you can think of it as like arpeggios or like a deconstructed chord, for example. But the easiest way to do this now is go back with your thumb and now just play each of those four strings individually, starting from the top here, from the fourth string. So, and if you take a look at the rhythm, they're just constant eighth notes. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and chord progression remains the same. So what's different about this though is you want to maintain the consistency and the sound of the eighth notes, especially during the chord changes. Okay, it's slightly different, and you'll probably see once you start playing this. But here we go. Let me count you off. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. A minor. F. G7. And C. Let's repeat. Let's do it one more time. C and. Keep those eighth notes steady. A minor and. F. G7. And back to C. Okay. Now, because each string is kind of like sustaining, or that's at least the goal, is to have all of these four strings sustain. Is that when you're making the transitions with your left hand, what you want is when you're making the transitions is to not make it sound like you're changing. You want to make the transition smooth. I'll kind of do an example. Let me see here. It's hard to play wrong, but I'm gonna kind of show F to G, for example. That's probably going to be the trickiest transition. What tends to happen, what I see a lot is, when I teach something like this, is that when you go from one chord to the next chord, sometimes you tend to wait for your left hand to put the chord down, and then you start finger picking. And same goes for strumming, actually. So it's important to keep the right hand consistent, da 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 da, and just kind of let that go, and not get into the habit. Actually, it is a habit I've seen some people learning, that they wait for their left hand to be in position before they start strumming. Something like this, for example. Let me get to the next chord, and then they continue. Obviously, you want to work out the transitions and everything, and you might have some pauses in between, but your main goal, towards the end, is try to achieve it so that you could play this whole thing with the eighth note. Just keep on going. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So your right hand is basically on autopilot, and then your left hand is to quickly make those changes. Now, same goes for strumming. I'll talk about, I'll kind of do an example if you wait for your left hand. So, so it's obviously we have to practice. We kind of have to work that out, but you want to try to, not get into the habit of doing that. Is to just try to keep the music moving forward. Okay, let's do this one more time, maybe a little bit quicker. Da, da, da. And then what I'm gonna do is we're gonna play the song. Okay, here we go. So maybe a little bit quicker. 1, 2, ready, and. and again, that's with the thumb, only with the thumb. Okay, so you can still do finger picking with just one finger. Okay, if you want to get into using more fingers, you can actually still do this pattern, and start to use your index finger or even your middle finger, for example. When I play, I just use 3 fingers. It kind of also makes sense if there are 4 strings on the ukulele, and some can even do finger picking with all 4 fingers, with their ring finger as well. For me, I just use 3. So if I were to play this using all 3 fingers, it would kind of look something like this. If you can see that. And when you use the other fingers, your sound will change a little bit because obviously 3 different fingers. Each one has slightly a different sound. But for the most part, generally you want to maintain a consistent tone and sound, and also when you articulate and when you attack each string, make sure that you're attacking pretty much at the same volume. You don't want to sound like this or. Want to make sure that they're all kind of being played at the same volume there. Okay, so great. And below that, there are some other patterns that you can kind of experiment with. I'll quickly play them just so you can kind of hear. Pattern 1, one that I came up with. I'll just use the C chord. So if you have a high G, this pattern actually works really nicely because now we're going in progression from low to high. That's pattern 1. Okay, pattern 2 is again, these are all 8th note patterns, but pattern 2, the main thing is you're on beats 1 and 3, you're kind of just like going back and forth between the C string and then also the G string there. So this one sounds like this. This one sounds more like a music box, kind of more delicate sounding. Okay, and then the next pattern number 3. Again, these are just some patterns that you can kind of play around with. Using playing 2 strings at once, and for this one, the 2 strings are the 1st and 2nd string. Okay, and then having the thumb go back and forth on beats 1, 2, 3, 4 between the C string and the G. So it sounds like this. So you can use any of these patterns over those chord changes. So I'll do one, for example. I'll go back to pattern 2, and I'll play it with the Stand By Me chords. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Actually, let me feel free to play along if you wanna jump in and play along. Pattern 2. I'm gonna do pattern 2. Maybe take a look at it, and then we're gonna scroll back up to the chords. Okay, memorize it. Da, da, da. Okay. Here we go. Let's play the chords to Stand By Me. Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, and. A minor. F. G7. C. Okay, great. So now we're going to put those 2 parts together. I guess we're gonna have to go back and forth here. So now we're gonna play the song, and I'm not a singer, so please bear with me. I'm gonna sing the song, Stand By Me, and this is what's gonna happen. We're gonna start off during the verse. If you guys know, the song goes, "When the night has come." During the verse section, we're going to do the finger picking section. Okay, so it's kind of a more gentle texture to the song. by the time we get to the chorus, so darling, darling, stand by me, we're gonna go into the full-on strumming. Okay, you can add the chucks if you want, if you're comfortable with it, or you could just do the straight open strumming without the chucks. Okay. Okay, here we go. Again, I apologize for my singing. So let's see here. We're gonna start off with the finger picking. Da, da, da. I believe it's two times. I think. I'll cue you. Okay, here we go. Let's do one pass and then I'll come in with the singing. Here we go. 1, 2, finger picking, ready, go. See? Okay, here we go. Repeat. When the night has come and the land is dark and the moon is the only light we'll see. Repeat. No, I won't be afraid. Oh, I won't be afraid. Just as long as you stand by me. Strumming. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Stand by me. Back to finger picking. And if the sky that we look upon should tumble and fall, or the mountain should crumble to the sea, I won't cry, I won't cry, no, I won't shed a tear, just as long as you stand by me. Strumming. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Stand by me. Stand by me. One more time. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Last chord. Stand by me. All right. Congratulations, everybody. I'm sure you all did a wonderful job. Thank you so much. Hope you have fun. Hope you learned something new. Yeah, keep on learning. I've been playing this instrument for. Am I still on? Am I still on here? I'm still on. Okay. Yeah, I've been playing this instrument. I picked it up kind of just to have fun with it. Not really planning on making a whole career out of it. But here I am, more than 15 years later, teaching and playing professionally. So this instrument really changed my life. So hope you had fun and keep learning, keep playing. And we're gonna open it up for a little discussion right now.
Yay! You know what? If I were a little bit more brave, I was gonna turn on my video and join you because you looked so lonely. But I know
you shouldn't.
Now I can play it. This
Now
is
you
so
can play.
cool. Yes.
Yes.
So much fun. All right.
Awesome.
Well, you know what? There's some questions coming in, and so
Yeah.
I want to make sure that we get to all of them. Actually, there was one comment that there was a request, and so I'm gonna just say it, and then I'm gonna let you think about it.
Okay.
Do you see that?
Oh, I
the-
see. Yeah.
Yeah,
La vie
okay.
en
So
rose. La vie
right.
en
I want
rose.
you to think about that. But
Mm.
questions are coming. So it says, "Hey Abe, my name is Ethan, and I also play the ukulele. Though I'm
Hmm.
not really the best at it, but I know how to play most of the chords. But the thing I tend to play most are rock and metal songs that I've
Oh.
somehow managed to transcribe on the ukulele. My two favorite being Tears in Heaven by Eric Clapton and
Hmm.
Master of Puppets by Metallica. As a ukulele player, here's a question. Have there been any genres that normally are unconventional to the ukulele that you've ever explored in your time of playing?
Right. Okay. So, my short answer to that is no. I don't see why an instrument should be limited to certain styles. Growing up, I didn't play, even though I'm from Hawaii and I grew up in Hawaii. I didn't play ukulele in Hawaii, and so growing up, I just associated the ukulele with Hawaiian music. Um, but right around like the late '90s, early 2000s. I'm sure you all know who Jake Shimabukuro is. If you don't, check him out because he has done a lot with putting the ukulele on the map, all over the world. So we all kind of owe a lot to him for doing that. And it was right around during that time when because his he was also from Hawaii, but it was he was doing a lot of groundbreaking things on the instrument, and I think that was kind of, to me at least, the start of the ukulele kind of like breaking out of this stereotype that, oh, you can only play ukulele or you can only play Hawaiian music on the ukulele. And since then, I've traveled all over the world and met ukulele players from all over the world, and everyone's playing everything. They're playing music that from their country, all styles of music. It's amazing that you mentioned Master of Puppets. I grew up on heavy metal music, so I know all about it. But yeah, I've seen metal. My background is jazz, so I started off playing jazz on this instrument. Um, Obviously popular music, you name it. So um, go, yeah. I encourage you to play metal, play the styles of music that you want to play.
Pretty much
Um,
anything is possible on ukulele.
Anything is possible, and right, people are learning so much more about the potential of this instrument. That yes, there are some limitations because of the range. It doesn't have a whole lot of range. It's uh, 2 octaves at the most, and but playable, most playable parts of the instrument is maybe just an octave and a half. I go up to 10th or 12th fret, which is about like an octave and another six. So it's not even 2 full octaves that we're dealing with here, especially if you only have a high G like me. So there are some limitations with the range, but as far as like music and what you can play on it, you should play anything, and shouldn't be that shouldn't limit you.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, combining two more questions. There is a
Okay.
request to play some jazz, and so you got two requests going on here. So I want you
Okay.
to think about them. Maybe we'll kind of combine that at the end. But what do you think is the best ukulele for beginners? And then
Hmm.
what is the brand that you're playing right now? Is it
Okay.
Kolau? I don't know. That's
Okay.
that. Yeah, the attendee asked.
Um, it's important to when you're picking out an instrument to be able to test it out. It's like driving a car. You don't really want to drive a car without test driving it. Because you want to see how your hands feel around the instrument. Um, so as much as possible, I know it's kind of a tricky time out there, and you might have to a lot of you might have to resort to purchasing online, which a lot of people do as well. But especially if it's your first instrument and you want to really get serious about it, it's as much as possible, try to go to your local music store and see how it feels with your hands. Um, because different manufacturers also kind of have a different feel. In terms of like the brand that I recommend with purchasing, um, there's a few that come to mind. Kala Ohana. Kala is probably the most widely distributed company out there, so they're very accessible, and I'm sure you could find them. Kala, their instruments they sound good, they're made well, consistent, solid instruments. They hold in tune. The most important thing I want to say that when you're purchasing an ukulele and you're able to try it out is that one, it can stay in tune, and also the intonation. Check the intonation. The tuning of the instrument and how and see if the frets are are aligned. If you buy a $20 uke, chances are the intonation on the fretboard might be off. That's why it's $20. As far as a budget, you can get a decent instrument for 150 maybe. Maybe bottom would be 150. So they are affordable. As far as like professional level, I think maybe starting at around 700, you're starting to get into more higher end professional level. So a lot of instruments out there. Kala, Ohana. What are some other brands? I know Helen has here Alani Kai, which I one of my early days actually when I picked up the instrument, I was playing Alani Kai. Those are good as well. And then when you want to get more serious about it, my instrument here, it's a custom. As you can see, I got my name on the fretboard. But this is made by Ko'olau, made here in Hawaii. Other popular brands are Kamaka. That's probably the most popular Hawaiian-made ukulele, Kamaka. They all start with K. There's Kamaka, mine is Ko'olau. There's another great company called Ko'aloha, and then one more called Kanilea. So if you have a hard time remembering this, just remember that they all start with K, and then just maybe if you want to do a Google search, K Hawaiian ukuleles, and they're all made in Hawaii. So and you can't go wrong with any of those other brands. But just like anything, if you're making a serious purchase, try to do your research, make sure they stay in tune. But also, we all have different, what we hear and what we want to try to play is all different. It can be different from one person to the next. So it's important to find an instrument that you feel that you can kind of connect with on a deeper level. Yeah, good luck. Have fun.
Great suggestion. Absolutely. Okay. I know our time is really tight and we probably want you to play something, but we have a couple last questions. So do you play any other instruments? I know that I can answer some of that. I know you're a drummer. You trained a jazz drummer, and also you play vibraphone. That's another instrument that you play. And then the last question just came in. What's your favorite key to mess around with while writing music?
Ooh, that's an interesting question. There are keys. I'm sure this goes the same for instruments as well. Popular or more common keys on the ukulele are going to be C, F, A, G, maybe D. Not a whole lot of flat keys. So it usually starts with and the reason for that is because of all the open chords. Those are chords that are open, generally easier to play. So those are the keys that are kind of the most common. As far as like keys that I mess with when I write, I actually try to, because I play so much, or we've all played so much in C and in F and in G, I tend to nowadays, actually more recently, I tend to kind of try writing more music in the other keys. I'm actually working on my next album right now, and there are some songs where there's a part and I'm playing in D flat minor on the ukulele. Yeah, so it's it gets a little funny. And then also the key of E. Now, if you play guitar, the key of E is that's probably the most common chord, or when you start off playing guitar. For the ukulele, it's a very nasty key actually. E is not a nice chord, but I'm working. I wrote this song, and I wrote this on my. That's going to be on my next album. Is a song in the key of E, So I like to
You
challenge
know what?
myself. So
I would hate to, just because it's time and we
it's
want to
time.
hear
Yeah.
you play. So
Okay.
I'm wondering, you got couple requests if you
Sure.
remember.
I can do.
And
I'll try to do a mashup.
all right. So everyone, thank you so much for coming. We're gonna play you out, but stay around until the last note, and then we'll say thank you at the end. So here is Abe.
Okay. Here we go. I'll make this quick for you. I threw in a little bit of La Vie en Rose there. I've never played it, so I was just kind of trying to figure it out as I go. But thank you so
Uh,
much.
Thank you
That
so
was a jazz
much.
standard called "On the Sunny Side of the Street." Thank you.
Right. Oh, awesome. So we're going to be looking forward to your second album. And thank you so
Yes.
much for being in Hawaii to make it a little
Yeah.
bit more special for us. So thank you. And thank you to all of the participants here tonight. And our webinars are continuing on. And next week is actually somebody Abe knows, our own director of jazz, Julius Tolentino, coming to
Please
do a
tune in.
workshop on how to learn a tune. 5 steps in how to learn a tune. So if you can come in, you don't have to be a jazz musician to come in. I think you can learn something new from each other. So in different disciplines, and that's the spirit of the webinar. So aloha, and thank you so much for being such an amazing teacher tonight. And we're all inspired to learn
Thank you
something
so
new,
much.
no matter
Thank
what.
you.
So everybody be well, and thank you so much. Good night.